got lucky because I was at a job, like I said, in the food industry, and predominantly what I had done was a mixture of quality assurance, regulatory, some recipe development, sensory tasting as well, which meant I get to eat cheese or milkshakes or poutine every day and like taste the flavors, which was fun. And so when I wanted to move into the cannabis industry, I wanted to do it for two reasons. Number one, it seemed like it was very fast growing, very innovative, and I like to be consistently challenged. And the second was that, yes, I was a cannabis user at the time, and I was super interested to become involved in this industry that I really believed in. So when I went to look for a job, I was like, okay, what skills can I use from the food industry and like transition over? So the first jobs I ended up applying for was actually like quality assurance technician. So like a quality assurance associate, like a pretty low level quality assurance person, because, you know, I didn't have any cannabis experience. I'd never done anything at a cannabis company. So when I went to apply for that job, the person that I spoke to was at I think a job fair. She asked to see my CV. And when she saw that I had a degree in plant biotechnology and tissue culture, she asked if I would be comfortable like working in the tissue culture lab. And I said, yes. So I went in for an interview, assuming that I was interviewing for the technician position. And then the management team just really liked me, and they actually made me the head of the lab. And then I got to work with these really fantastic scientists. Some of like still friends with some of them to this day. And it was a really good experience. But that was really luck, to be honest. The other route would have been that I started off really low level QA and worked my way up. And that is how it is for most people coming in the cannabis space. So you will probably start off in a super low level position unless you have very, very similar applicable experience that you can move over. So for example, if you have experience in supply chain management or something else, accounting, for example, that, you know, it's a pretty one-to-one transfer, that's fine. But something like cannabis cultivation, like if you want to be a cannabis grower, you might have like legacy market experience, for example, that you could use. But for the most of the time for commercial cannabis cultivation, if it's a new market, nobody has that experience. It's brand new, right? So those are some of the positions that are harder for us to hire for. So many companies, and for some of my clients internationally, we do recruit from Canada or the US or Australia, somewhere where they've had a bit more developed market. So what I would say is that pretty much every cannabis company in a new market is a startup. Like that's just how it's going to be for the next 3 to 5 years, rapidly evolving and changing. Startups come with a lot of very specific challenges. It's very much building the plane while you're flying it. So you have to be very malleable. You have to not get very upset when plans change like on a dime and everything flips on itself. Like I've literally gone to bed and woken up and then the entire strategy of the facility has been changed between one phone call between two executives. And we're like, okay, that's just going to be how it is. So don't get too emotionally attached to anything because it can very likely change quickly. But it also means that you can have really rapid growth. So when you come into a company, the upward trajectory in a startup is typically a lot faster than it would be in an established company. I had a good job in food, but to be honest, to reach like a high level executive team, it would have taken me like 10 or 15 years. And when I switched to cannabis, by the time I was in upper management, it was a year and a half. So it just allows for this really rapid development. But there are now available, and it's very different than when I started, you know, almost 6 years ago, but there are now available cannabis training courses, cannabis certificates. I teach at a cannabis college in Canada. So this can give you that extra edge. So when people are looking at applications, there's now education that you can actually have that you can put on there that will help you be maybe a little bit higher than sort of that entry level. But a lot of people do have to start from a relatively low position and work their way up, especially if it's something that you can't really get professional experience in because it's new in your country.